Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakat, Kwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach the Bible in 100% truth, and Shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, starting with the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of North, Central, and South America, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today I'm looking at deities and false idols yet again, according to the scriptures. Now, I was sent this particular video during the week. It's a small, a short video, if you like, and you've probably seen this yourself before, where people are folding up euro notes, and I believe this one in the middle here is a 50 euro note, and they're being folded up to form a picture of Baphomet. Now, like I say, you've probably come across this before, and or it could be new to you. And I believe this, when you look at American US dollar notes, again, these can be folded up to form various pictures. I remember at one point you were able to fold up certain dollar notes to form a picture of what seemed to be, a depiction of 9/11, so on and so forth. So, when you're dealing with the truth, the Bible, you're dealing with the truth of the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, the one they call God, the one they ignorantly call Jesus, his son. True names are Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. And so, what we do is we break down these scriptures according to the spirit of the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, and we come in the spirit of truth. And there are many false people out here teaching you false idolization into false deities and false gods, or teaching false philosophies and different lifestyle choices. Even within the Israelite community, there are false teachers who teach the truth, but then change the information and twist it to suit themselves. So ultimately, somewhere along the line, you need somebody to provide you with the truth, and that's what the prophets of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, according to prophecy, are doing, and standing up upon their feet and speaking this word. And so, according to the scriptures, this is Job 9:24, says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And we understand the wicked represents the Edomites, who are, again, according to the scriptures, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. And pretty much the Most High uses them, this nation of people, as whipping sticks for, at the minute, using them as a whipping stick for his own people, Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai's own people, the Israelites, the children of the Most High. And so it says quite plainly here, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So you can identify this person because he will take the image of the judges, the Most High, Yahweh being the top judge, Yahweh Shai, and then even within our nation, within the nation of Israel, during the time of the Dark Ages, the medieval times, we ruled Europe. And so after that point, you have a time called Renaissance, Revelation chapter 20, the rebirth of the Edomite Empire. And that signifies, the takeover of the Edomites, of these Israelites ruling in Europe. So, once that happened, a thing called iconoclasm took place, and images of kings and judges and rulers that were here in the Middle Ages have been replaced or whitewashed with images of Edomites. So to prove that one way into which to prove that the Edomites are the wicked, which the earth is being given into the hands of, you just have to look at the faces of the judges, work your way backwards through history, and you will discover a thing called Russian icons, so true images of holy images of ancient times. It says, if not, where and who is he? And so, if it's not, if you have a nation of people who have then taken the image of the Most High and His Son and so on and so forth and covered it up with their own, is it not obvious that these people are wicked people, because they automatically trying to assume the role of the Most High, hijack that, and assume you under control, which is what they have you under today until the return of Yahweh Shai. So the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and so the wicked will put their stamp, their imprint upon something, many things that are around this world. I've explained previously, when I went into Baron Samedi, deity, another, deity that people worship and idolize. I explained that, his image is used within, videos, films, even children's entertainment. So ultimately, that is, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, and they will infiltrate satanic symbols into these different places. And it's pretty much the same thing with Baphomet. Baphomet you'll find in movies and so on and so forth. Just a quick rundown here, if you're new to this, Baphomet is a deity allegedly worshipped by the Knights Templar that subsequently became incorporated into various occult and Western esoteric traditions. The name Baphomet appeared in trial transcripts for the Inquisition of the Knights Templar starting in 1307. It first came into popular English usage in 19th century during debate and speculation on the reasons for the suppression of the Templar order. Baphomet is a symbol of balance in various occult and mystical traditions. So that, they don't specifically teach it as, oh, this is a symbol of Satan, and we're satanic worshippers. When they push, people within that community push it onto others, they push it as a symbol of balance, for whatever reasons. When you look at the symbolism around the image of Baphomet, and mystical traditions. So this mystical, leads back to myths, things that aren't very necessarily true. This is the origin of which some occultists have attempted to link with the Gnostics and Templars, although occasionally purported to be a deity or a demon. Since 1856, the name Baphomet has been associated with the Sabbatic goat, image drawn by Eliphas Levi, composed of binary elements representing the symbolization of the equilibrium of opposites. So where have we heard that word before? Binary. You're living in a world where it has been given, this earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. So you're going to see their mark everywhere. And you see the symbol of Baphomet even on the euros, on the euro notes, when you fold them up. Don't forget the beast spoken of in Revelation 13. The beast system represents EU and NATO. And so, a couple of days ago, I brought out an article where we had NATO speaking of the up-and-coming MOTB. And so this image here that I'm showing you of Baphomet, this is, again, the beast, the symbol of the beast. Where you fold up this particular note and you have there's a clearer image here. You can see that in the middle there. So, you fold up this note in half, you hold it to a mirror, or you hold another one up to it, and then all of a sudden you're confronted with this picture of Baphomet. So a satanic symbol is placed on the money, and this is something that everybody has to use to get by, whatever age, from people who are 2 days old. Their parents need money in order to feed that baby. So the baby needs, at that age, he needs money to survive, all the way up until old age pensioners, people that are, on death's door, old people, frail people, even they need money. So, everybody needs money in this world, and if you're dealing with the euro, then you're pretty much walking around with a picture of Baphomet in your pocket. Imagine that. Imagine the Most High sends his son back and says, go and carry out judgment upon the people of the earth. And he gets to Europe, and everybody's walking around with a picture of Baphomet in their pocket. They say, "Oh, I didn't really want it. It's not my choice." It's yeah, but you're walking around with it. I mean, a lot of people love money. They do their best to stack it and pile it high. And if you went to a European and you gave him a briefcase full of these pieces of paper with a picture of Baphomet on, he'd probably sleep with it that night. If you said, like, here's 5 million euros in cash, this is yours as a gift, chances are he's going to go to bed holding onto it that night. So it doesn't look good when it comes to time of judgment. But yeah, the Baphomet, I mean, this is a euro. This is like a 500 euro note. They're pretty much all the same in slightly different ways, but they do all carry the 12 stars. You have the European flag, obviously represented with the 12 stars. This is I'll leave this link in the description box. This gives you a slight rundown on how they designed it and in the way in which they designed it for whatever reasons. I think it was this one here. Yeah. So there were architectural images used on the notes, and this represents them having a communication around the world and openness. The reason why they have these arches on the notes is to show openness to the rest of the world. And when you think about it, the euro is actually a kind of precursor to the MOTB. It's a small test run, because what they've done is they've taken one particular currency and they hit many nations with it. So if you're within those different nations, you can cross the border and your money is pretty much worth the same. The value doesn't drop because you're going from 1 euro to another euro. Is that not what we're going to have with the MOTB? So ultimately, the beast, NATO, which is made up of NATO and EU, the EU side of it, have tested the MOTB in putting out the euro out there. But I'll leave this in the link in the description box for this one. But again, you look at the designs on these particular notes. €5 is a classical design. €10 is Romanesque. Aren't we living in the revised Roman Empire? And the powers that be know it. The EU, which is part of the beast, NATO and EU, they design their money and with Romanesque designs. And like I say, that's pretty much sitting in nearly every single European's pocket, whoever's under the euro. A picture of these designs goes on to have Gothic designs, Renaissance designs. When you go to Revelation 13, Revelation chapter 20, it speaks of the Edomites being kept in darkness for 1,000 years. And that is the time known as the medieval times, the Dark Ages. And then the devil will be loosened for a little season. So we're in that season now. And that is the rebirth of the revised Roman Empire, the retakeover of these Edomites. That's what we've been running with the last 500 years. And that's what we always teach. And that is something that they have on their notes for the EU, part of the beast, EU and NATO. It says Baroque and Rocco on the €100 and €200 19th century iron and glass architecture. So that just gives you an idea. And then on there, they have a picture of Europe. When you look at it, I believe where you have the arch on the right hand side, apparently the arch represents bridging together, and the track along the top represents connecting to other communities around the world, which is what they want to do ultimately with the MOTB. And don't forget, they had future plans written on the Georgia Guidestones, and now they're about to fulfill them. They've done away with the Georgia Guidestones. they have future plans written on the notes, and then ultimately, they'll be done away with, and the MOTB will take over, and this test run of the euro will become worldwide, and it'll be digital, and that road to connect to these other countries will be connected in their eyes. But like I say, that particular arch on the right hand side, you can see the dark section with the shadow. So where that ends at the bottom on the right, on the left hand edge, I believe that's where you fold the note. So if you were to fold it at that particular point and use the picture on the right hand side and double it up on a mirror or so on and so forth, you have the image of Baphomet. And so this is where it gets slightly interesting, which is kind of the reason why I made this video. But before I jump into it, this is Psalm 64. It's a Psalm of David. It's a prayer in the form of a song. It says, hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. So that's an example of something we should be praying for in this day and age. We should be, especially in the time of Jacob's trouble, when they tried to implement the MOTB, we should be asking the Lord to hide us from the secret counsel, the secret meetings of the wicked, these meetings that they take place in secret, in which they bring forth agendas to push against us. It says, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. So, they'll meet up in secret council, and they'll say, well, look, we can design a note, and we got our top guys on it. We want to tell them that we want to fold it at a particular point, and we want this image of Baphomet to appear on it. And I believe this happens with all the notes. But this is not a coincidence. Again, back to that word, conspiracy theory. How much of a coincidence does it have to be for you to fold this image at this particular point and then show this particular image? I mean, this is spot on. It's not like, oh, I can see it, I can't, I'm not sure. This is clear as day. You can see it quite clearly. If you say you can't, you're lying. You can clearly see the goat's face, the goat's head, the horns, so on and so forth. So they have satanic symbolization, symbols, if you like, whatever the word is. And they've got, like I say, all these Europeans walking around with that in them. Eventually, that test run of having that Euro MOTB over different nations will go all over the world, and it will become digital. And then instead of having a picture of satanic symbols, Baphomet, so on and so forth, they'll just have the number of his name, the mark and the number of his name, which we know is 666. So you're dealing with people who are wicked. The earth has been given into their hands. They have a system called the beast. And so this is the point I found interesting. Now, when you go to, we looked at the Euro flag, it had 12 stars. And I believe that represents the number of nations that are in there today within that community. But initially, it started with 10. And it says Revelation 13:1. And I stood up upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. And so this is John on the Isle of Patmos receiving a vision from Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and he saw a beast rise up out of the sea. And that beast represented the current geopolitical system that we live under today, which is pretty much dominated by NATO and the EU, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So, initially when John saw this, he saw the ancient Roman Empire rise up out of the sea. Although he was he was pretty much already in that time, but this is what it represented. And then, but yeah, at that point, that ancient Roman Empire ruled by the Edomites hadn't fallen away. So John is in captivity, and he receives this vision, and he sees this beast, and it represents that empire that he's living in, and it having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. So he saw this, and ultimately, when you read on through the chapter, the beast is wounded. This relates to the Dark Ages, the 1,000 years, the time when Israelites assumed power in the whole of Europe, when these Edomites fell away. And then about 500 years ago, you have the rebirth of these Edomites, the time in which Revelation chapter 20 tells you that the devil has been let loose for a little season. And so later on in this chapter, John goes on to speak about the beast being wounded and then healed, and then coming back out of the earth. Verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So this now represents the rebirth of this Roman Empire, and the 2 horns like a lamb speaking as a dragon represent the political system. You're voting for these 2 political parties, but ultimately it connects back to the same beast, and the beast speaks as a dragon. So 7 heads and 10 horns. When you jump, this is an image created by elders of GMS, and I'm not going to go into detail, but this, initially this represents the ancient Roman Empire and its allies in and around that Roman Empire, and they pretty much had partnerships, and when you form with other smaller military forces around you, you become a bigger military might, a bigger military power, and harder to be taken over. And same thing as of today, you have the EU and the NATO and all its allies, and this pretty much represents that beast system yet again. And so when I hope you can see it, I know it's not very clear, but it says here the 10 horns represent the common market, or the European Economic Community, EEC, established in 1951, I think, or 8, or today the EEC is known as the EU, the European Unions. Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Spain and Portugal, England and Ireland, West Germany. So that's 12, because you have Spain and Portugal, England and Ireland. So today, I believe it's 12. And when you go back to, so when you go back to the image of the euro, you have the 12. So you look at the stars here in the circle. If you were to count them starting from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these are the 12 stars. And the way that the note has been designed, this is how you know it's not a coincidence. Like I say, once you fold it along that particular line, where the arch with the shadow on the left-hand edge that comes down and it meets the star, if you were to fold along that line, that's where you then have the image of Baphomet. And so those 12 stars are not being cut directly down the middle. And what happens is you end up with 5 stars in the image. And so when you hold that up to the mirror, or you get another euro note and fold that in half the other side and hold them together, what do you get? You pretty much get 10. I don't know if you can make it out here, but on the left you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the mirror image you've pretty much got another 5. So now you have an image of Baphomet and 10 stars. The EU initially started with, where is it? Let's go back to the scripture. And says, oh, back to the top. Well, you can even go from here and beheld. No, let's go back to the top. Verse 1, and I stood upon the sand and sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So, like I say, these horns represent, 10 horns represent the EU nations. They're now 12, and the euro depicts 12. But when you fold it in half and you put it against the mirror, you end up with the image of Baphomet and 10 stars. And they're taking it back to what they originally were. This is all by design. And this is all through the secret council of the wicked. Don't forget, when we looked at Baphomet is a deity allegedly worshipped by the Knights Templar, who I believe were Jakes. And I might have to double check my research, but I believe they were Jakes. And there are many Jakes around during the medieval times, and they were, worshipping lots of false deities and false idolizations and so on and so forth. It says that subsequently became incorporated in various occult and Western esoteric traditions. The name Baphomet appeared in trial transcriptions for the Inquisition of the Knights Templar starting in 1307. So, they pretty much, they had an inquisition against the Knights Templar, and one of the things that they had noted down is that these guys worship this Baphomet character, and then from then onwards, it's been used in the modern days. Obviously, we read on. It says it first came into popular English usage in the 19th century during debate and speculation on the reasons for the suppression of the Templar Order. Baphomet is a symbol of balance. So what's happened is, they've got this. This is where it was first recorded. If what I'm reading is right, and so with that, you've got this creation of this deity, and then ultimately, like I say, according to Revelation chapter 20, according to Revelation chapter 13, the Edomites have risen back up out of power and assumed control over the earth. They've set up this wicked empire, and it's powered by America, Babylon the Great, and their philosophies. And a lot of this is based around false idolization, false worshipping, so on and so forth. Anything but to worship Yahweh, but Hashem Yahweh Shai. So, this is why it's all worked out like this. So this is what it is. They're not stupid. Starts off with 12 horns, and when you fold it back, it takes you back to Baphomet. That's something that was hot, a new thing around the time of the Renaissance period, when these Edomites came, rebirthed their empire. Now we're here, their empire's in full flow, and they're test running the MOTB with this euro note in one particular way. And what do? They get you to fold it up. You can see Baphomet. You can see the original 10 stars, the 10 horns. It's all by design, perfectly designed. Not a coincidence, it's perfectly designed. So, that's all I wanted to go into. I hope that's edifying, but I will leave you with Isaiah chapter 19 and 3. And it says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. And, modern day America in the scriptures is referred to as, a spiritual Egypt, a spiritual Babylon, spiritual Rome, all these different places. Every type of wickedness that's gone on this earth, in up until the last 3,000 years up until now, it's all been rolled into one particular empire, and these philosophies and ideas all come out of Babylon the Great, America. And so they pretty much, they pray. We know that the banking elites, they have this occult worship. They encourage these demonic spirits. They pretty much, make connections, get understanding. The way we get understanding on the right-hand side, they get understanding on the left-hand side, and they use that to manipulate the masses. I don't know if you've ever come across a story where Michael Jackson, he obviously came out with some songs, some really, his songs hit hit a majority of the people of the world. You had people, I remember when I was young, and you had people getting crushed and crying and fainting at his concerts and so on and so forth. People were wrapped up in him. And then one time they were doing an interview with him, and they spoke to him. I think it is at his ranch or wherever, and there was an earthquake. When he tried to tell them that this, they tell these people who aren't, you become a worldwide star. You're ultimately working for the small hats. You're working for these elites, the wicked, with these, working out these secret agendas against us. They use our people to push it against us. And so, with him, he was saying things like they tell me to talk in the mirror. They want him. You should tell him to talk in the mirror, to talking to these left-hand deities. Just as I've explained before, they do carry a certain amount of power to affect your life. These false deities that people call upon to keep them believing in the lie. And at that moment, when he was about to go into it, there was an earthquake. It's quite a famous story. You've probably heard it 1,000 times, but this is the spirits that are conjured up in this society. These banking elites, they call upon these demonic spirits. They get understanding and they put it forth. And now you've got people, for example, in Europe, walking around with these euro notes, pictures of Baphomet in their pocket. Everyone's got a picture of Baphomet in their pocket. And soon, like I say, that test run for the MOTB, for the euro note in the euro, will go worldwide. The test run, like I say, this is like a test run for the MOTB. Pictures of Baphomet on it. You've got fold it in half, you get the 10 stars. They know who they are. These banking elites, they really know who they are. They sell you a lie and they call themselves small hats. But why is it that these banking elites don't live in the land with the other small hats? They've got a bunch of people living over there who assume that identity, but these banking elites know who they are. And that's why they're not too fussed about having to go back there and live there. They live in places like Italy, so on and so forth, or, England, so on and so forth, places around the world. So, it says here, the spirit, this is Isaiah 19:3, the spirit of Egypt, of America, Babylon the Great, shall fail in the midst thereof. And don't forget that word Egypt, the ancient word Mizraim, goes back to captivity, bondage, and this is what we're in, modern day bondage, a spiritual bondage. You don't have chains on your ankles or wrists, but you do have paper chains and adhesion contracts, plus there's spiritual wickedness going on around you. So even in your personal life, even in, if you want to forget about money and riches, but even trying to keep a balance within your own mind and within your own household is a very difficult thing, because satanic activities are happening around you, and these satanic spirits are very, very active, especially now we're so close to the end. But it says, once the Lord comes back, it says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail. And like I say, you can call on Baphomet, you can call on Baron Samedi, you can call on Jesus, you can call on these different things, and they will bring spiritual power. They will make things happen to keep you wrapped up in that lie. But when Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai comes back to judge, it says here, the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. Right from amongst you. One minute you got it, bang. There's people out here, right, and they're demons, and their power comes from the bullshit that they do. You've got these women walking around with these witch type nails, these ridiculous Botox lips, these stupid eyelashes, and they look ridiculous. All these plastic parts shoved into different parts of their body, to give them a bump here and a bump there. Even with men, you've got men out there, the men do their wickedness and so on and so forth. And all these people are proud on these various demonic spirits that fill them up and make them be proud to do what they're doing. And that's what makes them strong. Trying to deal with a Muslim is difficult. What about a transformer? And trying to deal with Muslim people, for example, we know that they have a strong demon on them. That's why they're very, you can't even approach them with the truth. But it's the same thing with these transformers. They're strong wield with their nonsense. And you know what that is? That's the power of the demon that's on them. It's not them. You know, these feminists, these certain particular groups, these rights, you know, the rights that they have, um, you know, the strength and the power that they have from the way that they fight for their argument and they stand firm, even if they're talking nonsense, they just keep going and going, they protest and they do all this. And that's all demonic energy upon them, wanting them to fulfill their wicked lifestyle. And so once that demonic energy is removed on that day of that Lord, it will instantly disappear. All of a sudden, you know, these people are going to be in great fear. Ultimately, it will come back upon them because World War III will continue for a bit. And again, once the elect are being back down on earth after deliverance and to take everybody in control, yet again, that spirit will soon be snapped back out of them. It says, and I will destroy the council thereof. And that council, you know, these banking elites and these higher elites of this particular empire. It says, the Most High says he will destroy the council, the meetings, you know, the way that they are able to come together to get these things together. They will all go out the window, especially when they go into captivity. You're not going to have any resources, you know, to be able to get yourself out of captivity. And they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And so that's what they'll do, you know, once the Lord comes back, you know, people will be praying. You know, the Lord's going to appear in the sky. And people are going to be praying to Jesus for salvation. And pretty much, you know, Jesus is a spirit of Egypt. And it says here that will fail in the midst thereof. So people are going to be crying out for Jesus, crying out for Allah, Buddha, crying out for their rights, crying out for whatever, you know, just cursing out. You know, scriptures tell you that the people of the earth are going to be cursing out Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, when Yahweh Shai appears in the sky. And that's why ultimately World War III needs to take place, starting with the destruction of America and then the takedown of these other nations around the world. You know, the spirit of Baphomet and everything else around it, the spirit of Baal, spirit of Dragon, spirit of Dragon, I think it, Baron Samedi, Jesus, like I say, you know, all these different things. People call on so many different things. People even call on luck. You know, people believe in luck. That's a real thing. You know, what you've got to realize is, you know, when it comes to spiritualism and having faith, people throw up prayers. And they throw the prayers, you know, you throw up a prayer, you throw it into blackness, you throw it into darkness. You know, if something, you got a job interview tomorrow, you say, oh, I hope I get this job. You know, you're speaking into emptiness, because when those words disappear, where do they go? No one does anything about those words. You could tell your friend or your mum or your wife, oh, you know, I hope I get this job. Keep going on and on about it, but those words are just going into black space. This hope, and that can build into I hope I'm lucky. You know, then you have faith on a higher power, but then you don't know what that higher power is called. So you do some research, and then you get fed a lie. So you think the higher power is called Jesus. Then you think it's Allah. Then you think it's Baron Samedi. Then you think it's Baphomet. You know, and then ultimately what you are is you're lost in that spiritual darkness, calling out for different things. You know, these transformers, they're lost the same way. You know, their spirituality is out there in some dark world, lost. That's what they can't even work out if they want to be he or she. You know, when you're a child, you see people do so-called magic tricks. As an adult, we know the magic tricks are done by sleight of hand, but the child doesn't know that. So when the child sees the magic trick take place, he sees the item disappear. To him, the item has disappeared into black space. Where's it gone? You can't picture where it's gone. You can't describe, but you think it's gone. And it's pretty much the same way. You know, we're fully grown adults. We're not children. We know that you're not doing magic. We know you're using sleight of hand. But we know that there's a higher power. You know, we know that Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai exists. And so we have faith on that, and we call upon it, and we wait for action to take place, and we see action taking place, and that's what gives us faith. We know this is true. Like I said before, we when you come to the prophets, we bypass all these different deities, these different spirits out there in that dark spirit world. We bypass them all. We go straight to the top, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. That's how we're able to break down these scriptures so easily and clearly, without going to these universities and colleges. I got a guy who lives down the road from me. He's always on about Jesus, his boy Jesus, and so on and so forth. And he went to college for 3 years. 3 years to college. He went to college for 3 years to study the book of Revelation. He couldn't. He's trying to explain it to him. He's got grey areas, and I'm saying to him, "How come you got grey areas? You went to college for 3 years, and you got grey areas." He's a respectful person. He speaks respectfully, and so on and so forth. But I'm thinking, you went to college for 3 years. You're trying to break down the book of Revelation. You got grey areas, and then I had to stop him at some point and give him the truth. I broke it down inside 5 minutes. I said, "Well, this chapter's this, and that's that. You connect that with that. You do that with that." And they know. These people know. They know the way that we break it down. They know, what time it is. That's why, like I say, these banking elites who push this agenda, they know they're Edomites. They know they have but a short time, and they want to implement this plan. They think if they get away with it and break prophecy, they can do away with the Most High. They think, these things, these prophecies are written in this book. We see these things happen, but we don't really want to believe on the Most High. We want to believe on Baphomet or Baal or wherever it is. And so that's why they want to make those prophecies, break them. It's a weird setup within their mind that Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai has given them. That's what makes them wicked. It's difficult to understand if you're righteous because they're wicked. They're fully wicked. They're all out wickedness on 100% max. So it takes a bit of thinking to get into their mindset. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to bring out, the euro note, like a test run for the MOTB in a lot of people's pockets at the minute, especially around Europe. A picture of Baphomet with the 10 stars, the 10 horns representing their side of the beast system. And ultimately, this will get replaced with digital ID, and the symbolization, will get changed up into the number of his name, 666. So I hope that's edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.